betting on oneself is one of the greatest powers that's out there.
Testing, testing, testing. Are we recording? Oh yeah, the mic is on. So I'm gonna try to talk loud enough because I'm in a restaurant and there's some background music, but I wanted to get this podcast out here. So I'm gonna toss a thought and I'm sharing for those of y'all that are gonna check in. What's up? Thank you for tuning back in. This is your girl Anonymous Thoughts, and yeah, that's the name I'm giving myself, even for those y'all that know me, because these Anonymous Thoughts, because not everybody is ready to hear what we're talking about. So excuse the background noise, because I'm currently set up shop at this place called Wood Fire something, Italian Grill. All right, but here we go. Aaron Rodgers, NFL quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, just agreed to a $150 million 3-year deal. If you do the math, he's going to be pocketing about $50 million a year, showing up for 6 months out of the year to throw a ball 100 yards down the field. And he's doing it all in the namesake of football, because he knows his worth. And here's why I bring that up, and here's what you're going to listen to and learn from if you decide to stay tuned in. I'm going to try to keep it short because of the background noise, but check this out. The reason why I bring up Aaron Rodgers is because today when I was driving, I overheard this dude named Eisen, who's like this sports commentator on Sirius Radio, and he was talking about how Aaron Rodgers didn't really got the deal of the century. Aaron Rodgers knew his worth. And so I ended up recording a portion of it that I'm going to let y'all hear towards the end. But the gist of it is, bet on yourself. And here's where I'm going with that. When you know your value, you can bet on yourself. Wait it out, because the universe will never tell you no. It might be a not right now, this ain't the right one, but it'll never tell you no. And the topic of today is not just about Aaron Rodgers cashing in, breaking the bank by throwing a football down the field a few months out of the year. No, it's not about that. This is about how fucking, and I'm gonna cuss on this podcast, so y'all might want to be ready, because I'm serious about this. You are fucking valuable. You are fucking valuable. Every single human being with a soul on this earth is priceless. And here's what I mean. For the most part, every single human being was born with 5 senses. Y'all remember that? One of the very first lessons we got if you went to pre-K or kindergarten. Some of y'all might not have learned into first grade because y'all was acting up in kindergarten. But on the real, one of the first things they taught us in elementary was about our 5 senses. Senses, S-E-N-S-E-S, right? You got your eyes for seeing, your nose for smelling, your skin for touching, or sensing, however you want. Let's call it eyes, nose, touching. You got your mouth for tasting, and you got your ears for hearing. 5 senses. Now, the one they did tell us about in school was our 6th sense. Not the movie. For those of y'all that are old enough to remember the movie Sixth Sense, it was called Sixth Sense, and one of the key lines in the movie was "I see dead people," right? Even though they portrayed it as dead people, check this out. All of y'all have 6 senses, but some of your 6th sense has been compromised because you gave people access to your 5 senses. When you give people access to your 5 senses, you are allowing them an invitation to compromise your 6th sense. Stay with me, here I go. Check this out. It all tie back into Aaron Rodgers. But to tell you how fucking valuable you are, you have to understand how valuable your fucking 5 senses are. Here's how valuable your fucking 5 senses are. I'm gonna just keep saying fucking just because it sounds good, right? Your 5 senses are this fucking valuable. For one, by 2024, so that's 2 years from now, media advertising in the form of anything that can access your five senses, they are going to invest $322 billion with the B to have access to your five senses. $322 billion. They know how much your sense is worth, but do you? I ain't done. In 2019, you want to know how much your senses were worth to the fast food industry? The fast food industry invested $5 billion to put bad food on your TV screen, on the radio, on billboards, wherever you went. $5 billion was bet on your five senses, our five senses, that we would take the bait. I'm not done, okay? Almost $6 billion a year is spent to market rappers and commercial music. 6 billion. I ain't even used the million yet. I'm talking about billions. You were worth fucking billions. And these industries know that. This is why they can then invest that money, because they know that if they access your five senses, they turn off your six senses with stuff that they know is not good for your sixth sense. This is why that little boy in the movie was seeing dead people. Don't be thinking about dead people like in the grave. This is dead people walking around. Can't even tell that the industry knows our bodies and our senses better than we do. And so this podcast or this audio is for anybody who's trying to figure out, how the hell did I get here and how the hell do I get out? You get out by being like Aaron Rodgers. You got to know your worth. You hold out. You hold out until you get what it is that you want out of life. And to get what it is that you want out of life, you got to know who is handling your joystick. Right now, $5 billion on the fast food industry back in 2019. Ain't no telling what they're going to spend in the upcoming years, especially after this pandemic, right? Another $6 billion to market commercial music to you. And of course, who else would be in the lead other than rappers and R&B people? Music that sadly has really torn our culture apart because we thought it was just music. It wasn't that big of a deal. You think that these people would be spending $6 billion a year if it wasn't that big of a deal? You got to be out your fucking mind. And I know you are, and I was too, to believe that they're going to spend $6 billion just to put some tunes out there. They know what the fuck they doing. We got to wake up to this. So for those of y'all that are out there trying to figure out why my kids behaving the way, why come my family tree look like this, why I ain't got nobody to go to, you got to pay attention to who have you sold your five senses to. That's what had happened to me. And once I figured that out, I'm starting to shave that off. I'm trying to be more like Aaron Rodgers. I can't everybody have access to my five senses. And the last point that I'm going to make on this before I close out, I love Megan and I love Cardi B. I love them. I love them for what they've been able to overcome. Okay. What I don't love is that these same industries, one of them, as a matter of fact, is overseas. That's over all of the music, and them suckers call themselves a non-profit. So that's a whole nother podcast. But anyhow, the Federation of Phonographic Industry, an alleged non-profit who's over all of these rappers, get to say like what gets in your face. But that's again that's a whole nother topic. But with people like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, who probably would have been people I looked up to when I was in my 20s and early 30s. Check this out. What ends up happening is, you think about, a lot of us had to go to these underperforming public schools, right? Going to an underperforming public school, getting mediocre, poor education, leaving out into the real world, looking back and saying, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? Guess what? They have something for you. Why don't you take off most of your clothes, sing a few lyrics, shake your ass, and we're going to pay you, since obviously your education didn't work out enough for you to be in the courtroom and do the lawyer thing, right? So if you think about the state of our economy, if you will, we go through these poor schooling, we don't get all the education and experience we need, and then we left to try to figure it out. And where do we end up? We end up in strip clubs, using our body, because guess what? If our mind don't work, our body sure will, but however, that is temporary. Megan Thee Stallion shows us that in her new video called The Sweetest Pie. So they take people like Megan Thee Stallion, people that look like us, they give them all this money because you can't do nothing with your brain in Harvard, and you can't go to none of them, but we can allow you to sell yourself back to your community and get a lot of respect from them, right? right? More people follow that lady, those two together combined, than they do any healthy food source altogether, you know, or healthy information altogether. But they give us poor education, and then they expect us to figure out how we're going to make a living, whether it's through our body, it's through crack, cocaine, drug dealing, stealing, whatever it is. So I'm going to close out by letting y'all listen to Mr. Rich Eisen this morning, who talked about you can't go wrong when you bet on yourself. So I'm telling y'all right now, bet on your senses, take them back, and stop making yourself available to everybody. I love y'all. I'm out.
And this, to me, shows once again how the power of belief in self and betting on oneself is one of the greatest powers that's out there. And it's very difficult sometimes because, you know what, you feel like you may not have the leverage, and you feel like you may not be that that person that the organization that you've been with for so very long really wants you. And Rodgers was made to feel that way with trading up to get Jordan Love, and the clock was ticking. And betting on oneself is one of the greatest powers that's out there.